Hey there everyone, I'm Richard and this is Cowboy Survival. I want to welcome you back to the channel. A couple weeks ago we did a video on the Trangia Small Mess Tin. Really nice little product, about $16 off of Amazon. Today what we want to do is look at an alternative to this mess tin, and this is the mess tin right here. Some Chinese company, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it's almost identical. We're going to take a look at it, take a look at the differences between the two, and ask the question, which one is actually the better value? Okay, so this is the original Trangia Small Mess Tin that we looked at. If you remember, it comes out of the box. It's just the tin with a lid and a handle. The handle comes not attached to this. You can actually take this handle off. You just pry those apart and that comes off. Pry them back apart and put them back in those little holes and it goes right back together. Except that I'm a little clumsy this afternoon. Well, come on now. I'm just a little clumsy. That one's in. That one's in. And it goes back together just like that, no problem. And the lid goes on. The lid goes on, fits fairly tight. And for $16, you've got a nice little mess tin that you can also cook in if you need to. Now, this is another item available off of Amazon for $16, same price. The two look like they're designed almost identical. There are a couple differences. The aluminum on this one looks a little different than the aluminum on that one there. You can see this one's a little shiny, the Trangia is a little shinier. The insulation on the handle doesn't go all the way around on the Trangia. It like a 3/4 insulation. It's a little thicker though than the handle that's on the Chinese version, and this goes all the way around. It's just a rubber coating of some sort. Now, the Trangia does not have any measurements anywhere on it. This one does have measurements here on the end. The other thing that's interesting is the Trangia has holes to rivet, but they didn't rivet the thing. This one does have rivet holes, and they did rivet it. Now, the big difference, though, comes in when you open up the tin. So remember, the Trangia, when we opened it up, that's all you get. This one, you open it up and you get some surprises. You open it up and not only do you get a little foldable solid fuel stove. Take this out and show this to you. It'll be interesting. I'm sure you're so interested watching me take this apart. So there we go. And the bottom piece comes off as well. And I'll put that in my pocket because we're always environmentally safe. So you have a nice little solid fuel stove that you can set this thing on while you're heating up water or whatever's in it. You also get, and this is another thing, you get something in addition. You also get a little oven rack that fits right down in this. Now this oven rack will also fit in the Trangia, but not quite as easy, but it does fit right in there. Now you may recall from the other video, I bought a steaming tray to put in this, but it cost me $16. So at that point, I had $16 invested in this. I had $16 invested in the steaming rack, and then I bought the roll-up top bag for this, which is also another $16. For $16, I get the tin, I get the little solid fuel stove to cook on, and I get a little baking rack. I could put some meat on that. I could put bread on that, maybe biscuits, and we may try some of those, cook some biscuits on this. But it's a nice little thing. So you get a couple little bonus items with the Chinese version that you do not get with the Trangia. So let me put the Trangia aside for just a moment. So this is kind of a nice item. Let's measure this item and measure these two items side by side. So when I put these two, they look pretty much the same, but if you can see, and I don't know how easy you can see this, the Chinese one is just a tad bit larger. So if I actually measure this, what we can see is width-wise, this is about 3 3/4 inches. The Trangia is about almost 3 3/4 inches, not quite, but almost the same width. Now, length, the Chinese version is almost 6.5, it's about 6 3/8. This one, the Trangia, is 6 3/8, so it's about the same size that way. Now, depth-wise, if I measure the depth on this one is about 2 1/4. The depth on the Trangia is about a little under 2 1/4. So the Trangia is just a little bit shorter. Not enough that I'd want to live on the difference, but just a little bit shorter. Weight-wise, let's take a look at the weight of these items. So without the stuff that's inside them, we'll turn this on and look at the weight of the, let's turn this on here. There we go. So let's look at the weight of the Chinese cooks. It's 168 grams. Now, if I look at the weight of the Trangia, and we're going to put the lid back on it, fold it over, the weight on the Trangia is 157. So this one is about 11, so the Chinese version is about 11 grams heavier. But it's just a tad bit bigger, so that one makes sense to me. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do a water boiling test to see how fast water will boil in each of these items. So we're going to turn on my stove. I'm going to use the same heat setting for both these. So we're going to set this on here, and we're going to time how long it takes that to boil. Okay, so that water is boiling vigorously now, and it took right at about 2 minutes and 45 seconds to get that water to the boiling point. Now that was 300 milliliters of water in the Trangia. Let's take the Chinese version of that, and let's see how long it takes to boil water in this one. Okay, so the Chinese one is boiling now, and it took about 3.5 minutes. So it took a lot longer than the Trangia. Now, why is that? Okay, so I have a suspicion as to why. The Trangia, on the inside, if you measure, when we measured the insides of both of these, they were almost exactly the same on the inside. But when I measure the outside with the lid on, the Chinese version is higher. Now, that makes me think that the issue is the bottom on the Chinese is probably a little bit thicker than the bottom on the Trangia. Now, I don't have a micrometer, or I could actually take that and actually measure it. I don't have one that could measure that, but I suspect it's just a fraction thicker on this one, and it took just a little bit longer to actually boil the water than it did in the Trangia. I'm not sure that makes a difference to me on the trail, but it does tell me something about the construction of the two items. Now, both of these are made out of aluminum, so neither one of them are going to hold heat long. Neither one of them are going to retain heat and be good conductors. So almost as soon as you take them off of the heat, they're going to start to cool down. Okay, I thought it might be a little fun, since this thing has a baking rack in it, to try and bake something. So we're going to try to bake some biscuits. So let's go ahead and turn our little burner back on. And I'm going to put the, so I've got some biscuits here, and we're going to take these biscuits and we're going to put them in there and see if in fact we can bake inside this little Chinese cooker here. So we're going to take this biscuit and place one of them right here, and take the other one, put another biscuit right beside it. Well, put it this way. I'm making a mess. We'll set that aside. We'll put the lid on, and we are going to let this thing bake. Okay, so after only 3 minutes, that's what our biscuits look like. Now, they are done, almost, not quite. They're a little raw still in the middle. So I had the temperature up, I think, too high on this. So let's take this out, and let's take these biscuits off, and let's try 2 more biscuits at a much lower temperature. Okay, so we'll turn our stove. We're gonna try another biscuit on a much lower heat setting. So I just had that one way too hot. And we're gonna set this biscuit over here near the end, not in the center. And I will put my lid on. And we're gonna let that bake. Now, one of the things you notice, I had this turned up pretty high the last time, and it burned those biscuits badly. So we're gonna try to do this a little bit different. And we're gonna time this thing. It should take about 6 to 8 minutes, but we're gonna find out. Okay, so we're sitting right at about 6 minutes. Let's take this off of here. And we're gonna sit it down here and let it cool a little bit. Take the lid off, and I will show you the biscuit looks really nice and golden brown. Let's peel off a layer and see if it's done all the way through. It appears to be done all the way through. Very tasty. Still looks a little burned on the bottom. Let's take a look at that. And it's really good. So it's still a little bit burned on the bottom. I probably wouldn't want to eat that part, but the rest of the biscuit appears to be really, really tasty and really done well. That was 6 minutes. You could probably do it just a little bit under that. Now, a couple things I want to note. We had done boiling water in the Trangia, and you see it didn't really damage this. Now, this is a spot about where the stove was, right? Now, let's look at the bottom of this. First of all, that black, that's where I set it down on my shemagh, and it burned, and it sort of melted I guess the cotton fibers and nylon fibers that might be woven in here. So I kind of got that. But what I want you to see is that circle right there. That indicates to me that there may be a weakness in this. This may not be the highest quality. Matter of fact, it almost looks like there's a hole. There's a hole been burned in the bottom of this. I can't use that anymore. It's got a hole burned in it. If I pour water in this, I don't have my water out here. If I poured water in this, it's gonna leak right through that. There's a hole, and the cooler this thing gets, the more I can see that hole. This pan is made out of substandard aluminum. I would not use this pan on that particular burner. Okay, so a couple videos ago, we did the small mess tin from Trangia. Really liked it. It was great. We boiled in it. We steamed vegetables in it. I spent $16.99 on the Trangia Small Mess Kit. I spent another $16.99 on a steamer tray to put in it. Worked really great. Go watch that video. It's linked below. Now, today we tried out a Chinese knockoff of the Trangia. It's this one here. You get for $16.99, you get the mess tin. You also get a baking tray, and you also get a little small solid cube stove that you can use. Now, everything worked fine. It seemed to boil fine. It took a little longer to boil in this than it did in this. However, as soon as we got to the point where we wanted to cook something in it, and we put this thing over my 4-in-1 Ozark Trail camp stove, it burned a hole right in the bottom of it. I can't believe it. This thing, piece of junk. Get rid of it. Stick with the Trangia, $16.99. I think it's a better deal. You're gonna be able to rely on it. You're gonna be able to do what you need to do with it. So, Trangia is the better buy than cheap Chinese knockoff. Okay. Remember what we always say, stay strong, stay prepared, and have a blessed day. We'll see you real soon right back here on Cowboy Survival.